What's up, family? Another beautiful day here, loving every minute of it. I mean, this clip I'm going to put here, I don't have much comment on it because we have more things on our side to worry about as black people. But it just goes to show how the system is so messed up that, and as a matter of fact, I will let the video speak for itself because, not the video, I guess the guy that's speaking here, and let him speak for himself to tell you guys exactly what he thought about the system and how to be treating those Palestinians over in that side of the world. And then, folks, be more loving, more kind, more giving, more care, more humble, more respectful. Show gratitude for all times and be grateful for another beautiful day. I love you guys. Subscribe, leave a comment. Peace out. Lots of love. Hang on, folks.
Different concepts of justice: moral justice, legal justice, and what you can call epochal justice, or what we understand as divine justice in this dunya. Now, moral justice, or what I'm calling moral justice, is basically a sentiment.
I'm piggybacking off this guy here.
The feeling, that you have when you suffer or when you witness what you perceive to be injustice, unfairness, harm or hurt or some kind of wrong. This originates in our fitra. It's in our nature. It might be even subconsciously informed by an innate recognition of divine justice, meaning we're born with a sense of good and a sense of what is upright and natural behavior and a sense of our rights and responsibilities as human beings. So when something violates that, or when something happens that violates that, we have a visceral emotional reaction. And I think that most of us tend to operate on this level. The emotional reaction to issues of justice and injustice is what prompts people to activism, prompts people to resistance and opposition, or to become involved, even to give charity and so on, or even to become militants or what have you. It's the sense of moral justice. But of course, this innate sense of justice also gets filtered through all of the add-ons of our personalities, our ego, our nefs, our self. It gets polluted and diluted by our own psyches, by our own interests, and our own learned or accrued biases and prejudices and so on. So this makes it incredibly subjective. It's variable and it's unstable. And it's always debatable. It can tend to lack balance or proportion, and it can be easily manipulated. So it's unreliable. The sense of moral justice is unreliable. And because it's unreliable, or anyway, this is one of the reasons, this is why we have laws. Legal justice. Legal justice represents the formalized system of laws, rules that societies establish in order to govern behavior and to resolve disputes and so on. It aims to remove the subjectivity and personal emotion of moral justice from the administration of justice by enforcing clear rules with proportionate consequences. Generally laws are derived from a sort of consensus over time about what's right and what's wrong, what's fair and what's unfair, and so forth, and about how best to keep order in the society.
Okay, folks, hang on, folks, hang on.
Situation. This isn't speculation. This is not opinion. This is simply what the law states. This is what the law dictates. So, for example, there would never even be any question about an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. In fact, an unconditional ceasefire would have been imposed on Israel. Under the Fourth Geneva Convention, collective punishment, indiscriminate bombing, and targeting of civilians, these are war crimes. Meanwhile, this is exactly how Israel has conducted its military campaign in Gaza. That's literally their approach. Entire families wiped out, hospitals bombed, food supplies blocked, and so on.
Sad, very sad.
Okay, these are not just tragedies.
War
These are
crimes.
crimes under the law, and it's not ambiguous, and it's not open to debate. It's literally what they have been doing. And of course, by law, the occupation itself is illegal. Israel must withdraw under the law. Again, that's not an opinion. United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 demanded that Israel withdraw from the territories that it occupied in 1967. That was nearly 60 years ago. The occupation is illegal under Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention, which explicitly prohibits any occupying power from transferring its own population into the occupied land. By every settlement in the West Bank and East Jerusalem is a war crime. This is not an opinion. If international law were applied, then all of Israel's settlers would be forcibly removed. The Israeli military presence in the West Bank would have to end immediately, and Palestine would have full control over its land, because that's the law. For over 17 years, the Gaza Strip has been under siege. Israel controls its borders, its airspace, its coastline. Again, the Fourth Geneva Convention makes it very crystal clear. Blockading a civilian population, depriving them of food, depriving them of water, depriving them of medicine, depriving them of energy, these are war crimes.
He said
The
it.
UN has described Gaza as an open-air prison, as we all know.
He said it.
The International Criminal Court has already stated that the blockade of Gaza is a crime against humanity. According to international law, Israel should be compelled to lift the siege against Gaza immediately, not an opinion. We don't need more investigations. We don't need more reports. The evidence of war crimes is overwhelming. Hospitals bombed, entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble, journalists, doctors, children killed in indiscriminate airstrikes. Under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, these are not just military actions. Again, they are crimes. Israeli leaders, Netanyahu, Gallant, and others, every general who has ordered attacks on civilians should be indicted and prosecuted at the International Criminal Court. Under universal jurisdiction, any country could arrest Israeli officials and hold them accountable. The forced displacement of Palestinians is not just a moral outrage, it's a violation of international law. UN Resolution 194 guarantees the right of return for refugees to their homes. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights enshrines the rights of all people to return to their homeland. Yet Palestinians are denied this right, while Israel brings in settlers from all across the world. That's against the law, period, not an opinion. Palestinian refugees should be allowed to return home, and Israel should be required to compensate those who have suffered generations upon generations of displacement, because that's the law. I mean, what happened when Russia annexed Crimea? Immediate sanctions. What happened when Iraq invaded Kuwait? Well, there was a full-scale international military response. What happened when South Africa was under apartheid? A global movement of boycotts, a global movement of divestment and sanctions. Yet when Israel violates every principle of international law, instead of being punished, it's rewarded with billions of dollars, billions in military aid, billions in trade agreements, and diplomatic protection. Well, this is the double standard. If international law were to be applied fairly, Israel would face a total arms embargo. All economic and military ties would be severed until it complied with the law. So again, you can have whatever opinion you want to have about this, but it is the law. If your opinion does not align with the law, well, this is where you prove whether or not you want to belong to the law-abiding nations of the civilized world, or you want to be an outlaw, you want to be a renegade, you want to be a criminal. This is where that becomes clear, because look, you can agree or not agree, but when it comes to the law, you're supposed to adhere to it either way. Israel's violations of international law are not just about crimes of war, they're about
you can work your whole thing here.
Of Palestine.
You can work your whole thing right there.
Is clear.
No, we all know the law is twisted. We all know the law is one-sided. The law is only for a certain class of people. That we know. As black people, we know that the law is only for a certain class of people. But the shit have to come to an end eventually. Don't forget, what goes around comes around. The longest day have to come to an end. Night, there's the run, the day catch it. Folks, it's going to come to an end. Peace out. Much lots of love.